Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast episode 401. I didn't even have to research that after last week, looking into the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town, available each and every week on audio and video. It's a depressing, wintry time, but I'm sure the Ipswich Town, the Ipswich Town media sphere will be very pleased to see David Diamond.
Evening.
Evening all.
Evening all.
And they will also be pleased to see Joe Fairs, who I know has just been to Nando's. What did you get from Nando's, Joe?
Oh, Joe.
I had some chicken thighs, but I went for hot rather than medium and sort of regretted it slightly when I had to go and get a high chair and put my mask on. I was just breathing fire into the back of my mask.
Joe, I
did see two Ipswich Town players there, but they were from the ladies' team today rather than the men's team.
Do you want to name and shame?
I didn't know who they were, but you don't see many sort of 19, 20-year-old girls walking around in Ipswich Town tracksuits.
No, it's not the apparel for young ladies, is it? Dave, I'm annoyed because on Sunday my food order comes. I've got a nice subscription for food. Get the text from DPD this morning. Elvis will be with you between 3:30 and 4:30, whatever it was. Gets to about 5:30. And I'm like, where's food now? And I realised,
where's Elvis? I think.
Well, Elvis has left the bloody area, let alone the building.
You must have had a suspicious mind as to where he got.
I had a very suspicious mind. He was somewhere off in the ghetto, down in the other part of town there. But he was always on my mind for those 2 hours. This has to stop now, doesn't it? I will win.
Check out Heartbreak Hotel and just get moving.
So I clicked the DPD thing, and there's a picture of a house that is clearly not mine. And I live in quite a big village with a lot of similar looking houses. So I think I'm going to be like Sherlock Holmes here, Dave. And I'm looking at the porch and the shape of the porch. And I even look at the reflection, trying to read the van. And Shaylee and I have literally just driven all the way around looking for this thing. Couldn't find it. There's a thing called Spotted Wixoms for where we live, to give away where I live, by the way. She posted it on there. The woman whose house it is said, "Oh, that's my house. I'll look on my Ring doorbell." Well, you know what Elvis did? He obviously trashed the food or whatever. Didn't even put a parcel down. Just took a picture of a random house. I've had to go to Marks and Spencer's garage because everything's closed.
Yeah, of course.
And buy 2 pepperoni pizzas.
Yeah, no, I share your
onto it.
I share your indignation.
I didn't, Joe. I was that hungry waiting for my food. And I'm drinking beer instead of wine out of my.
What were you supposed to? Is that are you only drinking beer because of your non-delivery? Then is that why? Was there wine involved within the delivery?
I just didn't fancy wine this weekend, so I went for beer. I haven't had beer in ages. Joe's got is that what would you call one of those big double pint glasses, Joe?
A Stein.
A Morris Stein. There you go. That was so quick. We almost had that one rehearsed, didn't we? David Diamond, Kane Vincent Young is back in training. Speaking on Friday, TWTD reports, manager Paul Lambert said he's doing really, really well. By the way, this is a podcast about Ipswich Town. We're going to start talking about Ipswich Town now. I didn't really set that up very well, did we? He's doing really well. I mean, really well. And hopefully on Monday we'll start to see him train with us, which is a great sign because he's a really good player. He's not played for a year now. So hopefully on Monday he starts to join in with us. He's not done any sessions like that before. Not with us, not with the team. He'll need a few weeks, probably, some games under his belt. We'll try and arrange things for him, but it is a huge bonus for us. First of all, you can speak about the difficulties of trying to speak the way Paul Lambert speaks when it's weird style of short little half sentences.
I think that's what it's short little sound bites almost now, isn't it?
Little sound bites. But anyway, Dave, you, I, and all Ipswich fans are probably huge fans of Kane Vincent Young. And it looks like early next year. What are your views on this?
Can't come soon enough, can it really? You know, a fit is a key word. A fit Kane Vincent Young will obviously be a big plus to us. So really can't come quick enough. Chambers, but look, not to degrade, Luke Chambers has done a really half decent job until I'd say, funny enough, last couple of games, probably last 2 or 3 games at right back, he's had a really decent season. But yeah, if Vincent Young's back, then it gives you options. Well, certainly gives you potentially another, like it or not, another centre half option there, because you'd think he would just slot into that right back position, and possibly. But we spoke about, sorry, just quickly, we spoke about last season him possibly even playing further forward, which would then enable Chambers to stay there. But now I see him coming back at right back.
Joe, what does he add to the team that's lacking at the moment?
Well, I think you've got to play him at the back, because it's just the way he can just gobble up space, and he needs that. He needs to be able to run from deep. I sometimes find you see these really good attacking fullbacks, and you try and play them in midfield, and they don't have that 50 yards of space to run into, and it just sort of negates what they're good at. But the big worry for me is that he's been out for a year. How long is it going to take for him to get back to what he was? Because we've seen with even like your sort of Teddy Bishop, he's finally got there, but it seems to take months and months of being Freddie Sears again. It's just players don't come back from a year out and sort of hit the ground running, and he's obviously got to learn these really complicated patterns of play as well, which might take another few months on the training ground.
I didn't fully appreciate it, but I was talking to a Cole U fan in the week and excitedly said to him, "Oh, Kane Vincent Young's back." He said, "Yeah." He said, first of all, he said he does sort of play it down a bit. He said, "Oh, he wasn't the best player you could have taken. You could have taken Frankie Kent, who's now at Peterborough." I'd perhaps disagree with that, but anyway. But he said, and he's a Cole U season ticket. He said, always had injuries. He said, always, not always injured. He said, always had little injuries somewhere along the line. So I don't know. I didn't really look back. Perhaps I should have looked back at his Cole U record after that, but I didn't. But look, what you will get with him is, what is the word? Yeah, as Joe said, he's running power, but athleticism. He's a top athlete,
pace,
top player.
Athleticism,
everything. Everything we haven't got at the moment.
Do you remember when Alan Shearer used to get injured? He had 2 big injuries, didn't he? He talked about coming back, hitting the ground running. He'd like scored 10 in his first 10 games, didn't he, or something? Crazy. Joe, Marcus Evans has backtracked slightly on the statement we had the other day and apologised for using the wonderful term, which I referred to I sent it in the WhatsApp group, an article I wrote this week pertaining to Rotherham, in not so glowing terms. I, for one, Evans says, have probably not helped the recent frustrations by my "be careful what you wish for" comment with regards to calls by some for a change in management. It was not meant to offend nor defer blame for past mistakes. If anyone took offence, I apologise. To be clear, I've not been swayed in the past. When making important decisions for Ipswich Town, some have been good, some poor. I'm 100% responsible for all of them. Joe, are you remotely interested in Marcus Evans' apology about saying "be careful what you wish for"?
No, the only statement I'm waiting to hear from Evans is the one saying Paul Lambert's been sacked.
By the way, if you're watching online, I can bring Joe's display name up, which we're not going to say. We're going to bring it up. There we go. It's not DD62 or Benjamin Bloom, let's just say.
We've like for the that part of the statement was just so ill-judged, wasn't it? Everyone that read it, it was every person, and it's just like, has nobody checked this out? Has nobody thought, I'll have a read of this and this is going to come across really bad? Even the apology is if you were offended, I apologise. It's a little bit of a. Yeah. I still didn't get it, but also just quickly back to Vincent Young. I've just had a look, and in his last 2 seasons at Colchester in the league, he played 38 and then 40 games. So
I think it was sour. I think it was sour grapes from my Cole U supporting friend. I think.
Still vexed about Burley, isn't he? Dave, on that slight half retraction from Evans?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit contrite, wasn't it? It was just half-assed contraction, really. I just didn't... doesn't interest me anymore, as Joe said. All you really want to see now is those headlines that Joe's got for his moniker this evening. Yeah. I'm not interested in what he's got to say anymore, really. And I think that goes for most of the fans, really, now.
Just quickly, go out of your way to watch this show on YouTube. I'm very interested in Joe's Morris Stein here. Joe, you went for a little lift there where, is it not possible to lift it by the handle? He's gone for the
is it a weight thing? If you lift it by the handle, is it almost a...
I'm going to do it with my piddly little...
That is huge. It looks like it should have some flowers in it, Joe.
I couldn't feel less manly here, Dave, because Joe is literally drinking from a glass 4 times the size of mine.
A pint. I feel inadequate. I've got a pint.
I've got the half. We've got the half pint, the pint, and the double pint. Guys, it was Portsmouth this last weekend, and there is the recent Portsmouth form there. Draw, win, FA Cup, okay. 1 defeat and a couple of victories. Portsmouth up there in the top 6 in the table. I did a Portsmouth podcast the other day, and the guy was very surprised when he asked me what my prediction was, Dave. And I said, you're in the top 6, we'll lose 1-0. But Dave, was there an air of predictability, another side up at the top of the table coming to Portman Road?
I said it right the way through, Ben, exactly what we are, predictable. And if you look back through those Pompey results there's, I think, a 2-0 home win significantly over Peterborough. Did I see? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they've gone 4-4-2 and stuck Marquis up top with a partner.
And when you saw the way we lined up yesterday, yes, so predictable. All right, again, perhaps injuries. Injuries, meant that perhaps there was no other way really. But look, I'd still at home. I know I bang on about it, and perhaps I'm old-fashioned and an old git, and probably I am. But I would have played. They finished the games quite strongly at Plymouth, with a 2-up, and I'd like to have seen that yesterday. But no, it wasn't going to happen. Dave,
I feel guilty when you apologise for saying you want to see 2 up top. I think that comes from me barracking you about it.
From day one almost, from day one of the.
What I will say though, Dave, is in deference to your opinion on that, is that if you've got no real pattern of play, you may as, and I said this last time, you may as well stick 2 up top and try and get the ball into the box.
But also, you're talking like Lambert's quotes earlier in the week, saying the engine room is missing. We haven't got the midfielders.
Exactly, miss them out then.
Just and the way the game's going as well. Just play over their heads. Just put Hawkins up there, lump the ball at him, and he's saying, "Oh, I want to get away from playing long ball." Well, I want to get out of this league, and you've got to do what you got to do to pick up points, don't you?
And then sort of, spoiler alert, towards the end of the game when he did kind of go 2 up, I guess it was kind of 2 up. He pulled Jackson off and played, Dryden and Hawkins. It's all right. And then subsequently says, "Oh, we need to protect Jackson. He's had injuries. Need to protect him." Yeah, I'm sorry. I just, I was hopeful yesterday. Turned up yesterday before I saw the team. I thought, do you know what? He may bite the bullet here and go with Hawkins. And as he finished,
no way he was going to do it.
Yesterday. But no, you're right, Joe. You're right.
Just briefly, guys, because I didn't have this down in the running order. Obviously, we should mention that you were both there yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't. Joe, you're in the hospitality bit, and Dave, you're in the Pioneer in the top tier. Do you want to go first, Joe? How did your match experience sort of pan out yesterday?
Yeah, it was fine, really. It was quite scaled back in there from what you're used to, but like there was no draft beer, so I had to stick to bottles of beer, which was a sort of first world problem.
Did you take your style?
There wasn't many in there. There was only sort of 23, 24 people in there, where normally you'd expect a minimum of sort of 50 to 60 people. So I don't know whether that's to do with the allocation that the hospitalities have got out of the 2,000, whether the 2,000 count towards it. I don't really know, but it was fine.
Stuff happened, Joe? Did you have a compare and a man of the match and a player up at the end?
We didn't. Yeah, Walkie was there. We had the compare there. We didn't have a man of the match come up. There was no team sheets handed out, and anything that needed to be handed out wasn't done. There was a virtual quiz which I won, so I got another mark.
You wouldn't have won it if Diamond had been there, I tell you.
No, but I had a chat to Walkie, and he's sort of as nonplussed as the rest of us with it at the moment.
David, what was your? So you won the ballot, or I mean, I don't believe it. I mean, you're a big mover around Ipswich. I don't believe.
Yeah, right.
I don't believe you won the ballot. I believe there's some skullduggery getting.
Do you think
in
so?
there
Do you think so?
Yeah. I know you got friends in high places, but
maybe because I've been a season ticket holder for 20 years, perhaps does that stand you in good stead? I don't know.
A random ballot, Dave.
And I've got to say, I don't know, I mentioned this to you before. One of the original corporate hospitality holders, where Joe goes. Fortunately enough, in 2000, 2001, and then in 2001, 2002. But they were kind of nice days to be in there. But anyway, I'm sure they're very nice.
A few times actually, Dave. Yeah, thank you.
You remember? Yeah. I mean, it was not great really. So you turn up. I was given on your ticket. You're given a slot to turn up, which is like between 2 and 2:15, which I think I tweeted out to you boys. Probably the earliest I've been at a match, a home match, and sat down non-corporate for like 30 years probably. Straight up to your seat. Have to keep a face mask on at all times. And it just restricted movement. Nothing open, no concourse open, no food, no drink, nothing. You can take stuff in, in I think almost like a flight in like a clear plastic bag, or so it's visible. Just about allowed out of your seat to have a comfort break, which at my age, obviously, that's certainly 2 in the first half and at least 1 in the second. And the bit that got me was, and I never ever leave. I will, no matter what's going on, I'll always stay to the last whistle. But at the end, Joe probably heard this. There was an announcement that said that
staggered exit,
please stay in your seats till the steward tells you to go. And by that time, I was just so depressed. 90 minutes, I was out and gone.
And what did you do in the 45 minutes? Sat there in the seat in
what can you do? Sat there, looking around, looking at my phone. It's not. I personally just didn't enjoy it at all. I mean, okay, the match obviously subsequently didn't help, but it just wasn't the same. I didn't enjoy it. I won't be. I don't think I'll be participating in many more ballots. I probably preferred to watch it on iFollow yesterday, to be fair. But it's great. Look, good to go. Good to go just to get back to the ground and stuff. And I popped into the shop and picked up a couple of things and stuff like that. But not great. Yeah, it was odd. I don't know what Joe thought about the whole thing, but. Yeah.
See, mine was quite easy because I got in there a normal time to what I normally would.
Yeah, you a little bit early.
And at 2 minutes to 3, I walked out from where I was sitting to go and sit in my seat. At half time, I could come back in. Full time, I could come back in. So
really.
No real difference for me. But the other thing I did notice is in the South Stand, after this 85th minute announcement that no one could leave, people were still just getting up and going. But over in the co-op stand, they did have stewards on each gangway, but. In the South Stand,
could walk out before the final. I think at the final whistle, they wouldn't have let you at the final whistle. You couldn't got out your seat and walked out. Obviously not. Yeah. But before I left, I think the ball. I might have played at a minute of injury time, and that was it. I was gone. It was they're fairly efficient still. There was a geezer, a few seats to my right who was wearing like a snoo type thing, and obviously it dropped. For God's sake, it dropped beneath his nose, and the steward come up and made him put it on properly. He said, I could get you a mask, I thought, wow. But it's what he had. Yeah. I won't be hurrying back.
Nobody told me there'd be days like these. Nobody told me there'd be days like these.
Strange days indeed, Ben. Strange days
indeed. And it was, didn't we have what anniversary was it for John Lennon recently?
40, mate.
40th of his death.
George's birthday, 8th of December, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody told me there'd be days like these. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I love that song, man.
Remember that day? Wow, remember that day. Crikey.
There is your Ipswich Town team from the weekend, Joe. Cornell in goal. Chambers, Wolfenden, McGuinness, Ward across the back. Nolan and Dazelle with Lancaster, Judge, Dobra, and Jackson ahead. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, it was very much a 4-2-3-1 this time round, wasn't it? It wasn't a 4-3-3 in any shape or form. It was Dazelle and Nolan sitting deep, and subsequently Dazelle and McGavin sitting deep. But so it was a team I expected to play, but I still would have gone 4-4-2, just trying to actually unsettle them a bit. They would go 4-4-2, just match up with them and try and stick Hawkins up there against his old club and try and get some joy out of their defenders.
David?
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, Nolan went off fairly early doors, didn't he? But he wasn't having, I've got to say, even by his standards, he wasn't having a particularly good game.
Another muscle injury since our fitness coach.
Another muscle injury. And again, I think, Joe, you might have tweeted this or something. If he plays, I thought I'd play him as a 10. If we're going to persist with this, I'll play him as a 10 because, we know he has got that ability to score goals. He showed it last week. Time and again, if Nolan plays for me, he's got to play further forward. He can't play that deep role. He can't. He really can't.
Just too safe.
No, if that's what we've got, at this moment in time, and he's in the team, he needs to play further forward.
Joe, though, if it's a double pivot, Downs and Dazelle would be really good, wouldn't it? Going forward at some point.
Well, Downs does so much running that he sort of covers the deficiencies in Dazelle's game, which is his
that'd be perfect
defensive work, isn't it? But
I think you've just answered a question in the tweets, haven't you? There.
Oh dear, my apologies. Right, look, let's just go to the first goal so we don't labour this. I've got screenshots for you guys.
Ooh, God,
So we could, but yeah. So do go out of your way.
episode 401, we've moved on a lot.
We have moved on.
Really,
For those
haven't we?
listening in the car on audio. So that is Williams with the back heel flick in the build-up. You can see Harness is just making a move down the right.
Look very similar, those two.
Yeah. So there is Stephen Ward not covering himself in a lot of glory with that attempt to block this cross. He's expecting it to be floated in and it's going to be cut back. And then here is the ball into the box. Wolfenden and McGuinness both get suckered towards it, cut behind them. Marquis lay off to Williams. Unfortunately, the aforementioned John Nolan is now actually standing still and has not tracked Williams' run into the box. So look, when you watch the goal back on TV, you're like, oh, good, quick pass, bish, bash, bosh. But
there's a lot of deficiencies there. To be fair, it came from a throw. I think initially it came from a throw on the right. And there was some quite good one-touch play before it even got to that interchange between Williams and I won't call him Harkness. That's the old Liverpool left back. Williams and Harness. And you know, when I saw it live, obviously I was pretty much up the other end. But when I saw it live, I thought, that's a really good goal because it was sharp. The passing was sharp, and that little flip,
especially that little Marquis touch at the end. That's a sign.
Oh, that was a great because
not shoot there.
He could have just completely lost his head there and just swung at it. A centre forward, 6 yards out. Have a go. But he had the presence of mind
as well and put it perfectly.
Really good awareness, and he just perfectly weighted and. For the lad's first goal in I don't know 2 seasons here, I think they said, well, certainly the first goal this season. Yeah, really good finish. Cornell had no chance at all. But looking back at that, there was pretty sloppy by Ward, and perhaps I don't know who lunges for the balls. It was Wolfen and all McGuinness. Perhaps they could have stayed on their feet and maybe had a better chance of getting a connection. But no, it's a good. It's from there, and when he passes it back, it's a really good finish. I think it's a well worked goal. Personally,
Joe.
Yeah, I agree. It's a well-worked goal, but it's sort of it comes up again for the second goal. But the midfield just do not follow their runners at all, sort of thing, do they? And it's embarrassing, really. You look at I know Ward is not that great across, but you look at that back line.
It's Nolan, isn't it?
The back four are in relatively decent position, aren't they? For it, sort of from the cross, that they are in a line. They have got their distances right. And then all of a sudden, it's like John Nolan just doesn't go with him, just doesn't follow him.
Are we being a bit harsh? That I mean, do we know? He appears to be running there. Do we know? Has he picked up his injury by then? It
is close to that point. But yeah. I think we're in. But
you're right. He's classic, and I've said it before. How many times I've said this? Nolan's there. He's ball watching. He's let his man run off him.
I totally agree. We're in two things can be true territory, though, here, aren't we? It's a good goal with deficiencies, isn't it? For sure.
They usually are, aren't they?
You've stolen my thunder here for the second goal because I watched this goal back. So the free kick goes in. It's then lobbed back in. And all I could think of, and Dave used to say this on the pod about Cole Skews covering in and winning headers. This ball gets lobbed back in. And unfortunately, you can see Andre Dezelle, all 3 Pompey players goal side. A Cole Skews or a defensive midfielder would have just stayed back onto the play and gone in for, been in that zone. Curtis, I don't expect to be beating Chambers in the air either. That was a weird one. Gets the flick on. Joe, do you want to go first on this? And then is it just a case of not resetting after the initial set play was cleared?
There's definitely an element of that, but with regards to Curtis winning that header over Chambers, I don't know what happened, but from the south stand end, so I'm talking 100 yards away from it, you could tell once that ball was in the air that Chambers wasn't going to win that header. Whether he was caught under the ball, whether he was, you could see he wasn't winning that header for whatever reason. As a centre back, you expect him to beat a winger, but I could see he wasn't going to win it when the ball was in the air. But yet, no midfielders have read that, and it's like. I've not played football at any level of any note at all. I'm 100 yards away, but I knew he was going to lose that header. He just wasn't set right for it. And But our midfielders, again, it's
This is
Dizelle, Judge there, McGavin's in at this point. But
so, do you know, looking at that, Joe, what happens? You're right. He's not set. He gets caught under the ball. So hence,
and Kurt's got a run on him, hasn't he?
Chambers has got no run at the ball, so Chambers is sort of jumping vertically from the ball from a standing start. Where I think Curtis has got the run on him, because he actually he's run on and got some purchase leverage in his jump. But yeah, Chambers, I think, just gets stuck under the ball in that second phase of play. But it's crap from then on, because I mean, he's virtually on the edge of the 6-yard box. How much time? It doesn't really show that, because by the time he hits it, he's controlled. I'm not sure he hits that first. Does he hit it first time? I can't remember, but so, yeah. He's got a fair bit of time before is that McGuinness or Wolfenden gets anywhere near him. That shot's away now, and Wolfenden's nowhere near him. That's beating the keeper there.
And by the way, just to mention, Cornell in goal didn't have any chance for.
No, I generally thought he half decent game, got done by a cross in the second half. But other than that, a hell of a save he made second half. I thought he had a half decent game.
But you look back at the sort of goals we've conceded in recent games, the Hull game, the Charlton game, a lot of goals are coming from sort of crosses tend to be down the left, sort of our left-hand side, getting crosses in, them getting stabbed out by the defence, and their midfielders being there to take them without our midfielders getting the right side of them. And
Joe, you've absolutely nailed that, because the whole danger of 4-2-3-1 is if you don't have defensively minded double pivot or a midfield, the forward midfielder, say on the left-hand side, can come back, you will get done down the flanks over and over again. That requires a little bit of rotation. I know Dave likes his old school 4-4-2, where you just double it up down the side, don't you? You have the midfielder who tracks back in front and covers the fullback if the ball's down that side. So if, Dave, that is not coached properly, then go figure.
No, you're going to concede. You're going to concede time and time again. And there is where I think you're probably right, Ben. And I'm not championing him to be playing now, not especially if and when Downs is fit. But yeah, Skews did a lot of that for us over the past few seasons. You just sit there and just mop stuff like that up time and again. I've said before, very underrated in the air. Not underrated, but very good in the air. You win a lot of those. Seldom got beat in midfield with a ball in the air, Skews.
And Dave, I'll add as well, I'm by no means championing him to be playing, but he would have been the one player when that ball got cleared the first time who would have just held his run and just waited and sensed the danger. And of course, it's Dizelle, who's a forward-thinking player, and McGavin, who's a bit more defensive, but a young player. And they've obviously just both run forward 5 yards, haven't they? As the ball's got cleared, not knowing it's going to come straight back. Dave, there's the stats for the first half. 53-47 in Ipswich's favour on possession, 6-4 shots to Pompey, 3 on target apiece, 1 big chance to Pompey. I'd have said
Dobra's chance was a big chance.
Dobra's chance was.
Did I have that one? Yeah. Look. That was at 0-0. In terms of big chances, this is an algorithm plotting positions on the pitch. It's not my opinion or anything. So yeah, I know what you mean about the Dobra chance. I guess. There might have been pressure on the shoot, or it might have been at an angle. But
that's a really good. I didn't realise at the time until I saw it back. That's a really good bit of play. That was a really good bit of play. He did he sort of really dropped his shoulder, didn't he, and made himself a yard. That was really good. Just Chamber finish, just didn't quite.
Couldn't find the corner, could he? The point I was going to make though, Dave, a tight first half, and you're going in 2-0 down.
Yeah, but how often have we seen that? Yeah. And again, the second goal, what was it? 44th minute, was it?
Pass. I haven't got the times up.
Killer, absolute killer.
Yeah. Into the second half. Look, because I know this gets asked in the question, so I'll just bring up the substitutions here. So obviously McGavin comes in the first half. So we've started with the 4-2-3-1. So it's Bennett's in for Judge on 61. Drinan in for Jackson on 62. And then the second forward comes in on 70. Joe, how did this second half play out, and what could Lambert have done better to chase a 2-0 deficit?
Well, we could have chased it for a start. That would have been a nice thing to see. But the second half, I think Dave texted you in the game, there was just a resignation around the team, around the stadium. It was just, there was no way in a million years we were getting back in that game. We could have played all night and not scored. And And like I say, I think it just sums up Lambert's muddled thinking with the strikers. You've got 3 strikers available. One of them is better playing off the shoulder. 2 of them are better playing back to goal. We play the one who's better playing off the shoulder up on his own.
One.
And then when we take him off, we bring the 2 that prefer playing back to goal together as a partnership. And it's just
maddening.
It's just basic, isn't it? And he's talking about this philosophy. He's talking about wanting to do the right things, but bloody hell, try and win some games of football, because that's what he needs to do at the moment, isn't it? And our best chance of winning a game of football was sort of try and create something with Hawkins and Jackson, Drinnan and Jackson, but not Jackson on his own. And like I say, yeah, we might lose control of the game in midfield, but ultimately we didn't get control of the game at any point yesterday.
I felt sorry for Jack.
Dave, I'll just jump in first. I just brought up the second half stats there. Pompey just sitting back, 60% possession, Ipswich 40. Pompey, 1 big chance to Pompey. No shots on target in the second half. No big chances created.
Pompey sat back in that game. They missed a free header within 2 minutes of the second half starting. A really, really easy header. They hit the bar with a header. They hit the bar with a shot. Yeah. And then Cornell made a brilliant save from Raggett. So the team that didn't need to score, who didn't even seem to break a sweat in that half, had the 4 best chances of the game. That game could easily have been 4-0 yesterday, and I don't think we would have had any cause for complaint.
No, not at all.
Had that been 4-0.
Yeah.
Dave, on the second half?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, could easily. And again, I think could have been Joe that tweeted out that, I could have been Jordan, my son, I can't remember, who said, 2-0, but you can see the pattern of this, 2-0, okay, it's 2-0 lost. Yes, we all know who were there and saw it. Could have been 4 or 5 easily, but Burton at home Tuesday night, you get a spawny 1-0 win or something like that, and everything's bright in the world again, Is that sort of game? That game almost needed a shock score, a 5 or a 6-0 almost. Sounds, really want to hope for that, but that's almost what it needed to perhaps add some more fuel to the fire. But as it looks, 2-0 and then a 2-0 defeat. But like I said, then go and get a narrow win over Burton and, everything's all right again.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. This is some quotes from Paul Lambert at the end here. We have to beat the top teams, the Blues boss admitted. Thank you to Phil and TWTD, by the way. We have to get our big players back. We're going to need a magic wand to get those guys back because it's important. We need them back. He does speak in a weird way, doesn't he? Teddy Bishop, Flynn Downs, Cole Skews. You need that engine room back. And at the minute, it's not coming back anytime soon.
There's a lot of backs in there.
He's just leaning so heavily into this injury thing is obviously what's saving his job at the moment, because he is just leaning so heavily into it now, isn't he?
But again, the injuries, Joe. I was thinking of this earlier on today. The injuries. Guion Edwards. Again, he's someone who's got injured, 3 games ago, 4 games ago. He just disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone said anything about how his injury is. What status have you heard? I haven't.
No. He wasn't going to be back this week, but
sorry.
I do wonder whether there's almost an element of, if we had a new manager in, how would these guys be getting fitter any quicker?
Well,
Nolan seems to limp off when we're 1-0 down quite often. I don't know
whether
that is the case or not.
Too nice.
I don't know, but like I say, the injuries are killing us. It's true. They are a massive factor in how we're playing this season. But because, like I say, whatever setup you play, if you put Kane Vincent-Young in the team, if you put Flynn Downs in the team, if you put Teddy Bishop in the team, if you put James Norwood in the team, if you put Guion Edwards in the team, you could put
do what you want.
A monkey in charge, and they'd be able to pick a formation with those 5 players to do something.
Just to push back on that a bit, the way to get through an injury crisis is to have a really solid pattern of play that goes through the entire first team squad. And when players get injured, others can come in and adapt, do the job. And I hate to point at our friends up the road, but there might be an example of a solid philosophy, loads of players out, okay, huge squad, but the others can come in and counter us. Anyway, enough of that.
But when there's so many injuries, you do have to accept that you might need to batten the hatches down. When you lose so much quality, you do need to think, actually, we just need to pick up some points here, because it's no good losing 1-0, 2-0 every game. And ultimately, the last 5 games, we've only scored goals when Plymouth had players sent off.
Yeah, there is the last, if you're watching on YouTube, there's the last 6 games. So 5 points in 6 games, which obviously is relegation form in a season where 1 point per game keeps, sort of the 46 point total. So, and as Joe points out there, the very late win against Shrewsbury. Then here come the two higher up teams, Hull and Charlton, 5 goals against, 0-4, 0-0 at Oxford. The red card perhaps induced victory over Plymouth, and then Dave, here comes a top team in the playoff positions, and another defeat. This is deja vu all over again.
I mean, I fear for next Saturday. To be fair, that's the game, isn't it? And they're sort of running to nicely. It's Peterborough away, isn't it? Next Saturday. Yeah, that might be.
We've had fun there before, haven't we?
Yeah, we did. I seem to remember a few years ago. Yeah,
with Hull manager Grant McCann, I think, wasn't it? That could be interesting. So there's the table, Joe, and amazingly though, and this is how one can still be linked with the Celtic job if you don't know actually what's going on from the outside. 29 points in 17 games. Yes, if you look below. And
points per game, we're probably
but let's not fall into the mistake that a lot of football fans make when they see a game in hand and they just add 3 points on. It doesn't work like that. But your point is right there, Joe. And we did get punished on points per game last season, didn't we? Still, Joe, up in the top 6. Let's flip the actual narrative. How much longer are we going to be in the top 6 for in this current state of form, given as well, and we talk about Burton as well, given that we're playing bottom of the league Burton, who are 4 unbeaten looking at it, in the next game at home?
I don't know, because it's hard to the Burton game, and like I say, unless we are going to line up 4-4-2, I just don't see that we're going to have enough goals in us to win the game, because I can just see that being a 0-0, because we just do not create anything in the way we're playing at the moment. We don't have the right personnel for it, and I say I don't like. You look at Burton and like their last 4 games, decent results. They thumped Charlton, didn't they, just before we played them?
Yeah.
By having a game plan against them, getting up around their 2 centre halves, and I just think every game we play, we just show more deficiencies to the opposition managers with regards to sort of how to get at us, and it's not difficult. You just play in behind the fullbacks and have runners coming into the box, because
it really brought it home to me yesterday being there, just how deliberate our play is. Slow and very deliberate. There's no short, quick, staccato time like their first goal and 1 or 2 other moves in the game. There's just none of that. None of it. Very slow, very deliberate, very predictable. I use that word again.
Dave, I say this a lot on the pod though. This is League One. You only need to produce 3 or 4 phases in a game of quick passing.
Well, at the moment, we can't do that. We haven't got at this moment in time, didn't we? But at this moment in time, we haven't got the players to do that. At this moment in time, just not good enough.
Well, we started off the season like that, and the first 6 games, we probably had sort of 20, 30-minute spells in there where we played some decent stuff. But like I say, like Evans, I know, sort of going back to his statement saying, the fans don't see what's going on by watching it on iFollow. I thought it was worse watching it in the ground yesterday with regards to the slowness of the play. Maybe because I'm watching it on iFollow, I switch off a bit because it's so boring sometimes.
No, I think you're right. It really... Yeah,
but you see it slow down. Like I said, I went with Emma. She doesn't really watch many games of football, but she was sitting there. I've got a quote. So I texted her and she said, "Why do they keep doing the little passes? It's 2 side to side, and they do it too slow. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you're winning?" And that was at 3:15. She said that to me.
Get her on the show.
She's nailed that. Yeah,
and it's just, and it is the case, and sort of like we have a decent move, and all of a sudden it's like pass, and then it's stop. Turn back with the ball, have a look round, and it was John Nolan, it was Brett McGavin, even Andre Dazelle wasn't moving quick enough. Lancaster was going back every time he got the ball, and it just strikes me as that massive lack of confidence running through the team. Everyone's scared to make that mistake, that forward pass. Because
Dazelle will still try it. Dazelle will still try it.
We move up and Dazelle has no ball on, so he tries to take a shot. It gets blocked, and we've got 7 men in front of the ball at that point, and it's just like, and it's so slow. We're so easy to play against with regards to getting yourself back in shape, aren't we?
Yeah, we really are.
Playing that style, Joe. I watched Swansea again. I think I'd watched Swansea last time I was on. I watched Swansea on Cardiff. Saturday lunchtime against Cardiff. And when you play that style, you have to be incessant. You have to, move it. Can't find the space. Back into the centre halves. Switch sides. Can't find the space. Back into the centre half. Don't you? You have to really, really keep, like probing, like you say, and especially when you only have that. A Nolan or someone can play around the corner, but you've only got one player in Dazelle. When Bishop can't drive through the lines, you've only got one player who can progress the ball through the lines with a pass there, Dave. It's easy.
It's easy, as Joe said, easy for teams to play against us because, okay, we'll just sit and just let them play in front of us because they ain't going to play through us because they haven't got that.
Should we do some Twitter questions, guys? Let's do it. Who wants to go first?
Go on.
Dave, this is James Chidwick. What is on your ITFC Christmas wish list? Lambert out, January recruitment, or a fit squad?
Oh, I think I need all.
I personally am hoping for a KVY for the rest of the season. You've just shown what type of kid you were at Christmas then, Davis. Right, you can have this present, this present, this present.
I want
all of them, yeah?
No, I think, so Lambert out's probably not going to happen. So, I mean, Christ, yeah, a fit squad. Hang on, what was it? January recruitment. Well, that's probably not going to happen. So, yeah, I'll take 2 of those. So, yeah, please, a fit squad and, a fit KVY from January onwards for the rest of the season. I think we'd probably have a half decent run. Probably is that important, but yeah, I think fit squad and KBY because the other 2 sure ain't going to happen, are they?
Is there any point me asking Joe Fairs when one of the options is Lambert out?
Well, I think you've just got to get him out and find a manager who can organise what he's got. And if the players aren't fit, I'd rather have a manager that can organise what is available than just sort of just rely on having better players. Because what's going to happen if we do, by some miracle, get promoted?
And as you quite rightly said, someone said yesterday, there's still these championship managers getting championship managers under pressure now. So those managers that are currently left on the shelf, so to speak, i.e. Cowley, perhaps, Cook, perhaps, probably aren't going to be on the shelf much longer.
Just to plug another podcast, the NTT20 podcast, they have
they
released an interview with Paul Cook. It was just those 2 having a chat with Paul Cook and Danny Cowley, and you just listen to them how they want to set teams up and things. It's just like, it's just please give him a job.
Joe, this is Mark Parmenter at Mark Parmenter 8. 7 other Mark Parmenters that maybe more if Mark got there fairly early in the Twitter game. There, Mark asks. Sorry, I feel bad. Mark's put a question. It feels like I'm mocking him.
It might only be 8.
Absolutely, Parmenter the 8th. Beheaded, survived, married, died, whatever. Which player is the most misused by Lambert? And he had surely Jackson as he struggles in the lone striker role. And we are, quote, terrible playing 2 up front. Joe, you've talked about, and I think we'll agree about the pattern of play, etc. But is he putting players in the wrong, either in the wrong positions or asking him to do things that they can't do? Who stands out in that regard? Maybe Jackson or other than?
Well, yeah. It probably is Jackson, just because you see where he doesn't hold that central position. He likes to roam off and he tries to run those channels. And like I say, after he scored the winner against Plymouth, he's interviewed by the club the club media on the ITFC official account, and it's basically saying, I like to play with a partner up there, whether it's Nors or Drins or Hawk or whoever it is. I like to play with. I like to play with someone and
Diamond.
And he's just like, I just seem to play better. We learn each other's game, and it's just like, he is a player that needs a partner, and if he isn't going to. If you want to play him through the middle, you're wasting your time. He's done okay there, to be fair, but you're wasting your time trying to play him in that role, and you're wasting our time as fans, and you're just wasting everyone's time in that role with him there. He scored 11 goals and set up 7 yesterday. Last season playing in a partnership, didn't he? So he can do it.
Honestly, he's just got.
Bail me out of this. I'm joking. Don't waste Joe Fair's time. Don't.
Time is money.
I'm on the cusp of a Huddersfield away meltdown of 3 seasons ago, I think.
I think Joe Fairs will be if we waste more of his time. Joe, interestingly, for those watching on YouTube, did divert to the handle grip, but strangely, with less liquor in the jar, has now gone.
I thought it was always a weight thing. It was a
arm round the shoulder thing. Whose question is it?
Might be
David?
me. Go on.
This is ITFC Mark, who's got very good facial hair by the looks of his picture there. Looking at mine, a lot less grey, and mine doesn't join up like Marx's. I'm rather jealous. If each of you were in his position right now, would you keep going and take the salary, or would you show some respect and arrange an exit package? Now, Dave, I know this is a kind of spurious question. However, let's just talk about the mindset of somebody who's been in a highly competitive industry full of alpha males for 20 or 30 years, who's being paid very, very good money. I know what a lot of people
How is the freelance musician scene these days, Ben?
Obviously, that's a very I won't say what I was going to say about what my industry is full of, spiders and snakes. There we go. Dave, just get into the head of Lambert here. Of course, he's not going to. Mark's question is,
walk.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we need.
No, he isn't. He isn't going to walk. No. I mean, we'd all love him to think there's a degree of decency there, and he's going to walk out on his contract. But it's sadly not going to happen. I don't think. No, he will be. Hopefully, at some point, he will get to the point where he'll be pushed rather than walk. I should imagine.
You worry it becomes a game of poker, isn't it?
Very few managers walk, do they?
Let's say you worry it just becomes a game of poker between him and sort of Evans.
Who's going to blink?
Or chicken, yeah. Who's going to blink first? Because Lambert isn't going to blink. Why should he?
Why would he?
Why would he?
4 years left on his contract.
He's not going to get another job after this, is he?
Well, the only reason he would blink is the self-preservation. And Mick talked about the Mick McCarthy brand, but we know from Lambert's last few jobs that he hasn't necessarily done as good a job as Mick did at protecting the Paul Lambert brand from.
No, I think they're different characters as well. I mean, yeah, it's certainly, as it seems now, as pragmatic as each other, but I think that's about it. I think they're pretty different characters there.
Well, I think one's an extremely good people person and one isn't. Put it that way.
I think so.
Joe, this is from our own Craig, and I just want to look at it from the other way. We tried to look at it in Lambert's head, but this is a perfectly reasonable question. If you were an ambitious manager or player, why would you join Ipswich? And I mean, you and I have had this conversation privately, and we've done it in the WhatsApp group where I've, maybe upset our own WhatsApp group by saying, why would these managers want to come? And Joe, your argument was sort of, well, below the Championship, it doesn't get a lot better, does it?
Just quickly, can I just say, did you hear that Nick Ames on GB's show this week?
Go on.
Well, I mean, Joe, you're nodding. I mean, I was
going to say this, but he basically said that
summed it up perfectly
because he's in the national media, and I'd spoken to him about the piece he'd done about Ipswich, and he just said the sort of numbers it hit on the website. Ipswich is sleeping giant isn't the right term. They're still a team which has a level of respect in the game from onlookers and
throughout Europe as well. We can tell you from running this podcast, Joe, as well.
And even I'd listened to one of the Kings of Anglia pods this morning with Pim Balkestein of all people, and he was just saying, as soon as you say Ipswich Town, everyone knows who you're talking about. And it is a case, and I think people are too quick to downplay both the football club and the town with regards to what it can offer.
Well, it's not
a big city like Brighton or Southampton, but ultimately we're sort of an hour on the train from London. It's a nice part of the world to live in. You've got all the coast to one side and sort of London the other side. It's not far, and I say it's a small town. It's not brilliant, but we've got a big 30,000 stadium. In League One last year, we were still averaging 20,000 supporters. We've got a huge catchment area for fans, a huge catchment area for the academy. We've still got a Category 2 academy, and it's still producing players. This is still a good job. You've got the issue that, well, for some managers it's an issue, for some it's a privilege. But you've got an owner who is not the best decision maker in football, I think is putting it mildly, but you've also got an owner who stays out the way and lets the manager manage. He doesn't interfere with recruitment. He doesn't tend to get on top of things. And when it works, I'm sure Mick McCarthy, for example, would say, it's brilliant here for the first few years under Evans before the fans turned, because he had free reign to do what he wanted as long as he could produce results. He was given the support to do so off the pitch. And we're not a big budgeted club, but ultimately we've got a guy who's worth 600, 700, £800 million who will just write the checks at the end of the month to pay the bills. And he's not going anywhere. And I say, you look at, just to talk about people we've spoken about previously, Danny Cowley, they've managed Concord Rangers, Braintree Town, Lincoln, and then gone to Huddersfield. But ultimately, they're Essex boys. They've shown that they can build a club from the ground up in Lincoln, got them back to where they needed to get to. You do the same at Ipswich and get us in the sort of top half of the Championship. I'm saying it's not. It shouldn't be too difficult a job to take Ipswich Town from League One to the Championship. Obviously, at that point, it becomes a very difficult job. But I say with some good management, it's going to take some very good management. It can be done, and I say you compare the potential of us to other clubs in the area. Who else are you going to go for?
I'll tell you what I was going to do. Let me frame you both the question this way. Okay, so imagine for 1 second, Lambert's bad run continues, but so does Mark Warburton's at QPR and Paul Warren's at Rotherham. And Dave, imagine middle of January, all three owners decide they're all going to pull the trigger at the same time. Okay, so Dave, you're Paul Cook or Danny Cowley, and the QPR. So traditionally, sort of top two tiers, some really good seasons. London club comes up. Rotherham, small club, but far seemingly better run than Ipswich. And Ipswich comes up at the same time. QPR, Rotherham, and Ipswich. Dave, which job do you take?
That's a really good question. That's a very good question. I mean, naturally, you'd think I'd always say Ipswich, but one thing that, again, sorry, just to harp back about this interview, one thing that did come out is that, amongst the national press and the media and stuff, and even in the game, Ipswich itself has still got, football kudos outside of the Premier League and even Championship, some of the Championship. The Ipswich job has still got great kudos to it. And, it would be a right feather in someone's cap to come along, be successful and almost reignite what is still seen outside the Premier League and perhaps a part of the Championship as a sleeping giant, so to speak, I suppose you'd call it, because we are really. But you'd think Ipswich, QPR in London, and with additional glamour to it. But again, look at the size of the club, look at the size of the stadiums, for Christ's sake. You get Ipswich in the Championship and rocking towards the top half of the Championship and pushing for the playoffs in the Championship. You're going to get 25,000 in there, as we did back in 14-15. Well, you're not going to get out of QPR, right? What is it, 17, 18?
Maybe it doesn't even hold that. Rotherham only holds 7. But I just thought they were interesting. Joe, do you sort of agree? I'm just throwing up the options that these managers would have at this time. We thought Cardiff might come up at some point, but Neil Harris won 4 games on the trot, and they're in the sort of second quarter now. Just answer me the Ipswich, QPR, Rotherham question.
Well, at the end of the day, football clubs have ceilings, don't they? And Rotherham's ceiling is basically where they are. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't go near them.
5 or 6 places higher. Yeah,
I don't think there's much value to be gained as a manager in the Rotherham job. At best, you're going to just keep them up in the Championship. That's literally the height of your ambitions, isn't it? And if Paul Warren gets the boot when he hasn't been able to do that after getting him up twice, then I don't think anyone's going to be able to do much of a better job than him. QPR, again, it's a Championship club. I don't know what their owner situation is like at the moment, but
they're not interested.
No, and they're not spending. They're sort of still paying FFP fines and stuff. Like I say, Ipswich has got the most potential of those 3 clubs, but I say that's one. I know it's difficult to see sort of without your heart overruling your head in any way, but I don't see either of those clubs being able to do what Ipswich could do. But there's obviously other clubs that could sort of, that traditionally you'd see as smaller clubs or lesser clubs that would be above us. But at the moment,
this season, Joe, the Derby job has come up and the Forest job has come up. Those would be ones that you might think managers would go for above us, wouldn't you?
But like 10 years ago, you'd say, I'd have put like Derby, Forest, Ipswich, Norwich, Leicester, Southampton, those 6 clubs at sort of a very similar level to each other. We're now.
Look at Leicester and Southampton now.
Well, we're nowhere near them now, and never will be. Not for a long time.
No, we won't.
No. Brutal. Good stuff, guys. Right, before we finish up, I mean, you've kind of stolen my thunder a little bit, but let's just say this on the pod now, Dave. We always beat Burton, apart from when we drew 0-0 right before the East Anglian derby. But 5 wins, 1 draw, 0 defeats against Burton. There is the table, Dave. Burton in 24th with 13 points. Ipswich in 6th. We are definitely going to beat Burton, right, Dave?
I don't know. I think I'm going to have a few quid on a 0-0 draw. I like the way Joe was thinking about that. Like the way Joe was talking about that earlier. Yeah. You would hope, Ben. You would hope so. You would hope so. But again, whether he's still going to stick with this one up front, and I just don't know. I think he probably will, and we're going to see a lot more of the same. I'm not aware that any players are going to be available, are they, Joe? That were not available Saturday, particularly. Possibly.
If they weren't even fit enough for the bench on Saturday, you can't imagine they'll be fit enough to start on Tuesday.
I fear it's going to be more of the same. I fear that Burton are going to, come looking, as you say, they're obviously quite solid. Four draws is it on the spin there?
Winning 3
draws. Yeah, they turned over Charlton. Winning 3 draws. So they're going to come. They're obviously reasonably solid. They're going to stick men behind the ball. It ain't going to be pretty, I don't think.
Joe, do you see any changes? Looking at the bench, obviously Nolan is unlikely to start.
Maybe.
Now, do you see any changes there, Joe?
Maybe Keenan Bennett gets a start ahead of Jack Lancaster.
Yeah.
Is Dobra going to be able to start 3 games in sort of a week? I don't know, but he's sort of playing 90 minutes every week. But I don't know. Like I say, personally, Nolan injured. I'd drop back Judge alongside Dazelle, put Hawkins up front and just try and get his playing on the front foot. Yeah, just try and get his playing on the front foot.
I thought
F2.
I thought Dobra.
As I said that quickly, Dave, Sean Dyche appeared on my TV screen.
They haven't turned Arsenal over. They tell me they're not beating Arsenal.
Granit Xhaka has just been red carded.
Jesus Christ!
In other news, water is wet.
Yeah, I've got to say, I thought Dobra was probably the pick yesterday. Would you say?
You only said that because Joe's on, Dave.
Yeah, I thought he looked sharp, didn't he?
Yeah. No, I thought he did okay.
There we go. Okay, I think that's our show then, Dave. You can, as ever, follow the podcast on Twitter at Blue Monday ITFC, over on Facebook. Richard's doing the Instagram as well. David, answer me yes or no. Is the thing that we had planned for tomorrow night going to happen?
I can stick my neck out and say yes.
Yes. So we may have some interesting David Diamond related content coming during the week if that goes on.
2021 calendar shoot.
Like that, take that video where it's just rubbed in strawberry jam or whatever it is. Yeah. Is that the plan, David?
Yeah, it's a bit late. To be fair, it's a bit late for the market for 21. It's an early 22 shoot, I think.
There you go. Shoot. At David Diamond 3 on Twitter. He doesn't tweet a lot, but if you want to DM the great man, that'd be your way. Joe Fez. Joe, did Billy get in contact with to you to do that thing?
Oh yeah, I've got to do that. Yeah.
So do you want to plug that, Joe?
Yeah, he's just asked me some questions to answer for the EFL podcast, which I need to do now.
He's missed the deadline. So Joe will appear on the EFL podcast at some point when he actually records the audio. Where do we find you on Twitter, Joe?
Just at Joe Fairs.
And you are more active than Dave, and quite insubordinate sometimes, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I've hitched myself to the wagon. And
hang on a minute. Where's the button I press? There we go. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I'm just like I say, as we all are, I'm worried about the future of the club, and another season in this division is going to really, really hurt us, and we need to be doing what we can to get out of it. And like I say, I know there's a number of fans that have decided to boycott games and stop spending their money, which I totally understand. For those that aren't, I'd urge them to make themselves heard in the ground, especially if results go like they did yesterday. I
think another season at this level, and we're done. We're done for a few seasons.
That's that
important.
Yeah, just to sort of go back to where we were. But when the players came out, yes, they got really good reception from the fans. But the atmosphere turned in that game, and by the end of it, like I say, you could probably tell my throat was a little bit hoarse from sort of shouting at the end of it there. But I think, like I say, people are saying boycotting is the only way that Evans is going to listen. For me, like I say, each to their own, but I think when only 2,000 fans can go to the game, that 2,000 is going to sell out every single game, no matter what happens, because at the end of the day, we had 20,000 fans last year. You aren't going to get more than 90% of the fans boycotting it. If you aren't boycotting it, get to the games, and if things carry on as bad as they are, make yourself heard, because that is what Evans is going to listen to. He is not going to like what he heard yesterday, and if we play as poorly as we did yesterday, on Saturday, against Burton on Tuesday, then he needs to know that he can't just sort of keep sitting on this, because it is not going to help him and it's not going to help us.
And for those people who do complain when we're a little bit laughy and jokey, obviously we're all mates. We have to make a podcast. We can come on here and moan for an hour and rant and rave. I don't know how much you want to listen to that, or how much fun that is for us to make or for you to listen to. So please do not mistake our demeanour on here. We are all friends. And I did say before the pod went on that, guys, the Twitter feed's an absolute shit show at the moment. Let's just have a bit of a laugh. So please don't mistake mine in particular, or anybody else's demeanour, as we don't care. We are worried, but you try making 401 podcasts about this since 2015, and not going this way. Right, one more quick one. Richard and Seb will be on live on YouTube after the game on Tuesday. You will not be able to get that down the podcast feed. The only way you can view that show is by subscribing. Well, you don't have to subscribe on YouTube, but you have to watch it on YouTube. We would like you to subscribe. They'll be live straight after the game. You can, of course, watch it after the fact tomorrow or the next day. And if you are in the live stream, you can support the podcast via the super chat method there. Help us out as well if you go to the Acast app, where I would recommend you listen to the audio for this show, and hit the support button there. You can give us a little bit of a donation. Obviously, the podcast is free. We put a lot of hard work into it. We're paying for some technologies. We got the season ticket and all of this jazz. There's equipment and whatnot. So anything you do donate will go back into the podcast. Dave, any famous last words?
Onwards and upwards, Ben. Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. Joe, any famous last words, or shall I just do that?
Yeah, I'd say.
That's it.
Time's up.
Goodbye. Just a quick plug at Benjamin Bloom on Twitter. And if anyone didn't see it, I spoke with Kevin Phillips for an hour, and there's a good 4 or 5 minutes on Ipswich and him nearly joining Ipswich and that business. So go and check that out at my YouTube channel, which doesn't house the Blue Monday stuff now, just houses championship stuff and things of that nature. Anyway, enough pimping of my wares, David. If Mikey was here, he would say, be careful what you wish for, but then would have to apologise for it in a statement later in the week. So with that being said, be careful what you bloody wish for.